my question is a bit irrelevant with respect to AR and all these things. Actually, when there is a gameplay programmer and when someone is creating a multiplayer game, I'm a bit, I'm not familiar with. I would not say familiar, but networking is something which is very no, I'm afraid of. So, as a gameplay programmer, do I have to, when there is a multiplayer game running, there is gameplay programming and network programming working in unison. So, as a gameplay programmer, do I have to get familiar with the network programming as well, or a basic understanding would be sufficient?
See, basically, so this is what I'm saying. Right now, you're looking at should I do this or should I do that?
Actually, sir, I am focused on gameplay programming.
Again, what I'm saying is that it definitely enhances, or right now you have a dependency. You're focusing on gameplay, somebody else is focused on networking. End of the day, you're not getting the solution that you actually want to deliver. So, irrespective of whether you should learn or not, the big picture is missing in this case. You're still not getting to your goal. So, the question is, do you want to get to your goal? In which case, then learn. It's not a big deal. And it doesn't have to be slotted and this and that. So, one thing, okay, so one point that I would definitely make is, so we are a small team, we are a team of 5 people. Last 5 years, we've been a team of 5 people. So, all these projects, everything we've done in just this small team. Point is, in this case, you need generalists. You need people who can do a lot of different things. So we don't have just, so we have a 3D artist who does lighting, modeling, texturing, animations, Unity, scripting.
So both of our artists are there. Shantanu and Bhushan, please give your hand.
And big applause for them, because the very, very important thing is that my take on this one is like you should become a jack of all and master of one, because for artists also it applies, because if you are stuck up with something, at least you should have that little bit basic knowledge that you can actually fill up the gap. Then you can rely on another specialist one, and it's up to you that where you want to specialize. In fact, in my case, I have become the generalist. I am doing all the stuff, but I am just specializing on some part. I don't expect myself, or nobody should expect that you can become master of all. No way, because it is so expanding and it's such a difficult task. But at the same time, you should be very, very organized. Means, as I told you, that tutorial a day for a programmer and sketch a day for an artist, that is at most important. And over the period of time, you will reach over there.
Everybody has been waiting for this AR and VR for a long time. But Google's most ambitious project, like Google Glass, disappointed. So, is it going to affect the future of virtual applications?
See, basically, look at it this way. AR, VR, every technology, fine, it's really cool, people have been waiting, everything. How is it actually solving a problem? Is it solving a problem? If it is solving a problem, people will pay for it. That means the market is there. If the market is there, it will succeed. There are a lot of technologies that are probably hidden, like we don't know about, primarily because there's no market for it. So how do you address, so even a company as big as Google, investing, I don't know how many millions of dollars into something like Google Glass, is still saying that, okay, it's not really working. So you can't really define, okay, this is how the market is going to work. What definitely you can do, and which is the approach we are taking, there are certain problems that you can solve. Real estate visualization is a need of the market right now. Training is a need. If rather than just looking through a manual or watching a video, if I'm interacting and being immersed in an environment, is it actually making my experience better? Am I learning better? So the key point is, am I learning better? Real estate, by showing something using interactive 3D to a potential customer, is the customer more likely to buy or book the house? Is something. So coincidentally, one of the projects that we did for Sky Eye Builders, I don't know if you've seen those, the Bugao project, Songbirds. There's this Deepika Padukone ad all over. So we've done the 3D stuff for them. And one of Praveen's relatives actually went there, he saw it, the marketing guys were using it on laptops to showcase, so we had a little bit more elaborate presentation in that case. It was where you visualized the different types of apartments, furniture layouts that you could have. So this is something that their marketing guys were showing. One of his relatives actually went there, he saw it, and he came back to Praveen and said that, those guys are doing something really cool, you should check it out more. And Praveen's like, no, I've done it. So now coming back, this is very relevant. Market is there. To a certain extent, it may not be a $1 billion market, you don't have, at least you're starting out and people are willing to pay for it. Question is, how easily can you translate your knowledge about 3D, about games, into something that the market would actually pay for? Finally, end of the day, if you're running a business, you have to find a market that's going to pay for your product. So basically, you can't say that I have this technology and why isn't it working? Can you make it work? Can you tweak it? I'll give an example. Leap Motion. I don't know how many people have heard of the device. It's basically this small device.
Yeah. Motion can you get?
So essentially, it's a motion sensor. It's like the Kinect. It's like the Kinect, but it's very small. You actually connect it to your PC. So it's actually this. It's a couple of sensors. There's a depth sensing camera which tracks. So you actually plug it into your computer, and it tracks your hand movement in a certain 1 foot cube area. So I can actually make gestures and interact with my computer screen. Now in this case, this company, they launched this as big marketing campaign. Okay, so it's not something that people have bought yet, but when they started out, now you can interact with your computer without using your hands, just gestures, and you can create 3D models by just sculpting it in air. Really, really amazing marketing campaign. Practically, what happened when they launched the product, I keep it here, I have my screen, and I'm trying to move things, but it's a fixed volume, right? If I move my hand here, it's not going to recognize. And because we need feedback, if I'm actually, I don't know when I'm actually going out of that area. So I'm looking at the screen, I'm trying to do something, and suddenly it's disappeared and suddenly it's coming back. So now practically, this product failed for the market that they were trying to target, which was replacing the mouse in a way. So it failed for that market. Now, what these guys did, now how, I think Rohit was mentioning how one small change in the idea can actually work. Now these guys, the same product, what they're doing now is for the Oculus Rift, they're putting this or attaching this product to the Rift on the outside, and they've modified their algorithms so that you can see your hands inside the 3D world. Okay? Now suddenly that market has changed. They are not targeting mouse replacement yet, but they have a new market with the same product, with the same technology. So it's not even really a product in that case, it's a technology. With this technology, they are able to target this new group of users who might pay for this. We still don't know whether they will pay for it or not, but at least they have a better chance as compared to a market in which they fail in a way. So experimentation can be done. If these guys had shut down the company after the failure or whatever, this would have been similar to Google Glass. Or is motion sensing going to work? This would have been the question. Even with the Kinect, they started out with games, was the first application where you could use it. So a lot of technologies actually come in games first. Why? Because entertainment gets a little bit forgiving. If I'm actually doing something, I can say that, oh, this is my gameplay mechanic where I'm doing this, and this is how the interactions for that I'm going to program for. Whereas in business or in real life scenarios, it's more strict. Finally, because out there, it's boiling down to for a builder using this fancy thing, if it is not relating or is not translating into more sales, it's pointless for you. So how do you actually enhance an existing, so all these non-gaming markets, so this is our experience, you have to enhance an existing offering. It's going to be very difficult for you to do something completely new for which the person who's paying for does not even feel the need for. So if I'm a builder, I'll give you an example again. Builders. We're talking about a fancy, it looks really good, but this has worked in the West. So that project was for an Italian builder. It worked out there because they are more techno-savvy. They actually could use it and they wanted to show their design. For the builders here, when look at it from our perspective, if you have to buy a house today, you will think that where am I buying it, what is the location? That's the first thing that comes to mind. All the rates are defined according to location. 3D visualization, if you don't have it, you will still buy it. Right? So in this case, the market does not have so much of a need for interactive 3D visualization. So where do you actually find the market? How do you do it? Is a very broad question. Experimentation is what you can actually get through. But maybe you are able to find some small niche and expand through that. So that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Anyone?
So, okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.